And we are live. I'm always pleasantly surprised when we're able to go live on Facebook. So with the week that some of us have had, or most of us have had, I would say that this is a win. So welcome to episode what we believe is 12 of the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour. I am Lori DePietro Standen, and these are the success coaches in my program, Lori, who is affectionately known as LT, and Joanne. So thank you guys for joining me again for the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour, and for everyone who is watching us on Facebook Live, so I can see your comments. As you know, we love for these to be interactive. I call this a talk show because I want, this is a discussion with myself and LT and Joanne, but also with all of you. And we love to answer questions. And that is really our primary focus today, is to answer your questions about the program, because right now you're getting hit with all kinds of, the stuff that's coming up on my news feed and in the commercials and things that I am watching is just off the hook. A couple of days ago, I saw it was a tablespoon that you take of this brown liquid that supposedly makes you lose weight, gets rid of your love handles, and gets rid of all your wrinkles. I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? So this is the stuff that's out there. We all know we're all smarter than this, but it's hard. It's hard when you're feeling desperate not to think like, if this could help a little bit and all I have to do is take a tablespoon of whatever the heck this is, then I'm willing to give it a shot. So it's important to me to explain to you guys how what we offer is different and the difference that we're making in the lives of our clients. So we have a lot of hellos. Hello to everybody in Facebook land. So my program is called the PlantPower Revolution. And the core of the program is actually two things. The diet plan itself, which is really a nutrition plan, is called the CPR plan, the Cleanse, Prepare, and Train. And then we have the mindset coaching. Okay, so those are the two main components, and we deliver those through our website, which people have access to 24/7, that has cooking tutorials and lifestyle videos and workouts and all these different things on there. But then we also have our group that has, our Facebook group is private. It has over 180 women from around the world. And then we have our actual coaches. And so I've been doing this for a really long time. And what I have done over the years is add things and change things based on what is the most helpful for women. And I did this myself. I remember as a personal trainer, when I first started out in this industry many, many years ago, what I noticed was that it was all young people who were doing the training. It was people in their, usually fairly early 20s. They had never had any problems, and they were trying to train women like us, and having them do crazy, crazy stuff. And it's not necessary. And I knew that back then. And so my goal is always to, get the truth out there to the people that I'm working with, and so that women understand that you don't need to go to extremes to lose weight. This really is just a common sense thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, because I get a lot of questions about it, is the cleanse, or some people are referring to it as a detox. And it's 5 days, and it is designed to get you off the crazy train. So it's only 5 days. There's no fasting. And so I wanted to ask, I know both of you, everyone who comes into the program, I encourage them to do this. It is optional, but it is completely for anyone who does it. They're so glad that they did. And then they actually continue to use, the juices and things that we use during that time later in the program, and just on a regular basis, because they taste good and they feel so good. So tell me what your experience was when you first started the program. with the 5-day cleanse?
Well, I had never done a cleanse before. So
Were you scared?
I was, because
Yeah.
I was used to eating so much and like all day long. And so the fact that I was going to have to just have a juice really freaked me out a little bit.
And I just want to say it's 2 juices, as many fruits and vegetables as you want during the day, and a big dinner. So I just want to say that for everyone who's watching, that juices are just a part of it. It's not, you're not fasting. So go ahead.
Right. Still, it scared me.
Yeah, right. I get it. Yeah.
I was like, juice and vegetables? Okay. But it did scare me at first. And I was a little skeptical of if I could do it. I knew other people in your program had done it, but I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. So I did.
And what was your experience with it?
It was a real mind game for me, because I did go through some of those things like that, the toxic hunger where I was battling with my cravings, like about the 3rd day. And when I got to that 3rd day, I thought, okay, I did this on Monday and I lived, and I did this again on Tuesday and I lived. Because the 3rd day was the hardest for me, because then I really started to fight myself. And I was like, I've done this for 2 days. I can do this for 3 days. If I do this for 3 days, I can do this for 5 days. And by the end of the week, I mean, I know getting all those toxins out of my body was part of why I felt amazing, but I really felt like I had accomplished something huge, and it was a real empowering thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other part, is not only do you wake up on day 6 feeling like you have control of yourself again, because we all know when you're at the mercy of your cravings, it is a mind game. It makes you feel unempowered and weak, and like you don't have any control over what you're doing unless you get the foods that you're addicted to. So yeah, it's you feel better physically, like amazingly, in those 5 days, but you feel so much better mentally too. Yeah. What about you, LT?
Yeah, I had done detox things before, but they had always been in the form of some sort of a pill. So I had not done any juice detoxing. But I would say that when I first tasted it, I thought it was delicious. It had a little sweet component to it because, it's from the fruit that was in there. So it felt crisp. It felt clean to me. So I didn't have any problems with the taste at all. I never was hungry that week because, like you said, we could do the 50-50 ratio of vegetables and fruit. So I did that. About on day 3, I started getting day 2, day 3, really a little headachy. But I also had a habit of drinking about 6 Diet Cokes a day. So I gave those up during this time. Cold turkey.
Yep.
And that was what it was. It was simply that. But I felt like that I was doing something healthy. It felt healthy. It felt lighter. I felt lighter. Even after those 5 days, I felt lighter, not only in my body and in my stomach, but I felt lighter mentally. I felt like I had accomplished something. And I know that not all results are typical and you can't compare what but I lost a little over 7 pounds that first week.
Yeah, that's pretty common. I don't know. How much did you lose, Joanne? Do you remember?
I think about 5.5.
Yeah. So it's usually somewhere, I would say the average is probably somewhere around 6 or 7 pounds.
And the next week it was still gone. And I lost a little bit more.
That's the thing people ask me is, okay, well, that's just water weight. You're going to gain it back next week, but you never do. You never do. It's that bloat. And so, it also, of course, you get up on day 6 and you see a nice drop on the scale, and that's motivational. We need the motivation to keep going at the beginning, right? But it's just fresh juices. I give you the recipes so you can make them themselves. Now you can even buy them from us, the Plant Powered Chef. We will make them for you and ship them to you. But it's just it's all just regular food. There's nothing. People ask me all the time, like, okay, well, I don't have a Whole Foods near me. You don't need a Whole Foods.
No, I don't go to Whole Foods. And let me tell you, when you're starting to put all these ingredients together, it just looks healthy. It's fresh, it's bright colors, it's vibrant. And it's just, when you've been in the process train and eating out of bags and drive-throughs and eating out of boxes, you're just like, this not only looks good, but it tastes good and it feels good.
It feels good. Yeah, even on these plans, like you said, these people, I'm just going to say it, these people are doing like Optavia and this stuff where they're just, you look at the ingredients, this stuff is not healthy, you guys. It is not healthy. All this processed food, these supplements, these shakes, these bars, no. So yeah, when you're putting real food into your body, and plus it has a ton of fiber. So that's the great part, is I hear people saying, you know, because a lot of people suffer with constipation because they don't have fiber in their diet, very common in the United States. And so that's another great part, is it, you know, it gets you moving, which is good news for a lot of the United States. So and it's, so what it's designed to do is it balances your gut flora. And I've gone into the science many times on this. It balances your blood sugar. You absolutely can do this even if you are diabetic. That's something I can definitely talk to you about. It's many people in the program have done it. It balances your cravings so that you're not feeling hangry and out of control. And you are like, once you get past that, didn't you guys find, like I'm going to be honest, like during that week when I first did it many, many years ago, I was a bitch. Like I was like to my whole family, I'm like, just get out of my way this week. But then after that, you know, I was so much less irritable, not being on the standard American diet, because I wasn't on this crazy train all the time.
I found it to be kind of the opposite. I kind of felt like that I was irritable before, and I was so desperate for something, and I knew that this was going to be the right way because it was eating real food that was healthy. And I just think I was so relieved that I finally found something that was not a shake or a pill or a shot.
Yeah.
And I knew I can do this. I really can do this. And then I had read all your stuff and the other people's testimonies, and I thought, I can do this.
Right. Yeah. I actually, I was a jerk during that week, but I hear people say all the time, like that they feel amazing during that week.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to be afraid of it. It's only 5 days, and it is so worth it. And that's the reason. The other reason that I started the program that way, because initially when I developed my program, that wasn't in there, was because you do need a mental transition from the way you're eating to a new way of eating. And this is definitely a good mental transition to that. And because people, just to wake up and start eating completely differently, which is what we try to do all the time, it's a shock to your system.
It was a shock.
Physically.
It was a 180 for me. I had never spent so much time in the produce department in my life.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to get used to being, because I won't get used to being in this little side.
That's
right.
And
I just decided right then that cracker cookie chip aisle was not my friend anymore. And I wasn't even driving the cart down that aisle. And I still don't.
Right. That's the thing. Once you break those cravings, they don't have a hold of you anymore. And so that's the key, is that, you know, when your life is really ruled by this sugar craving or salt craving that you have these go-to foods. We really we work in the program to help you identify what your trigger foods are. Usually people don't need a lot of help figuring it out. They know. But we help you to find alternatives that are tasty, that are not going to trigger you to binge and feel like crap. So that's the first phase. And the other question I get is, you know, I actually do get a fair amount of people who say, well, I've tried a plant-based diet and I didn't lose weight, or I tried a plant-based diet and I gained weight. So I wanted to talk about what makes my plan so effective for weight loss, even though we don't count calories, we don't track macros, we don't cut carbs. So if you guys just want to say a little bit about your experience with weight loss with this, and if you thought ahead of time, like, I don't know if this is going to work for weight loss, like what were your thoughts going in?
I knew it had to work for weight loss compared to what I was doing. You know, like I just putting real food in my body would have been a huge change from what I was doing. And not to say I didn't ever eat, you know, I made homemade stuff all the time. I love to cook, but we had gotten into such a pattern of convenience with the kids being in high school. I think that like the last year before I joined, it was so much out of convenience that I mean, it was out of control. We would eat fast food 3 times a day. It was so out of control. So I knew that changing this way of eating would definitely drop weight, but I just didn't, I'd never done anything that balanced, because I think the other times when I had tried, I mean, I see on Facebook sometimes those memories that pop up. I had gotten my Vitamix 10 years ago because I was on a mission, like, I'm going to make smoothies. I'm going to go raw vegan. I've been trying this for so long. But I wasn't doing it right, because at points I wasn't eating any cooked food, or I wasn't eating any grains. But I think the thing that really makes you able to stick with this is I'm never hungry. Like, I'm never hungry in a way where I was hungry, because I get grains all the time. I get protein, I get more protein than probably most meat eaters. And even though they don't believe that, I honestly do. And I never feel hungry. So I think that, and the fact that I never feel hungry and I'm losing weight, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, but I know it, I understand it now, but it's something you wouldn't be able to believe unless you experienced it.
You are so used to deprivation. We think that's the only way, because that's what all diets are based on. And so when you're not deprived, it's sort of like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
Were either one of you afraid, because I get this question a lot, were either one of you afraid of grains? Like, if I eat these grains, I'm gonna gain weight.
No, I wasn't. You had broken down exactly what grains were. And I would have thought that a sweet potato would have been a grain, but in yours, it's a vegetable. And so once I found out that I could have those sweet potatoes, buddy, it was on after that, because I love sweet potatoes.
I know both of you guys are sweet potato queens, right?
Yes. I know it.
Oh my God.
Well, so that helped a lot, but just knowing the portion control, and, I really wasn't scared of that, because I knew that I was eating so many of the vegetables, and I did have to learn that feeling of what being satisfied is. Because it's not a stuffed, it's not a undo your pants, it's not a where's the sweatpants, where's the pajama pants. It's not one of those feelings.
And go lay down and
right. And I had traded that Diet Coke in for water, which I now crave and have to have. And so that was working in conjunction to help. I always had a full, satisfied, happy, content feeling with eating. And I didn't feel like, oh, I just wish I didn't have to eat this. I wish there was something better with this, because I've liked everything that I've done.
Yeah. So we have a comment that says grains are a trigger for me, or it feels like it. And so what I want to explain about the program is that we eat healthy grains. And there is a structure. My program is based on a system of food exchanges. You have lots of grains to choose from, and you can decide. And then there are serving sizes on there so that you know how much to eat. So the way that's different from other plant-based plans, where people have told me that they've gained weight, is a lot of the stuff that's out there is low fat, but unlimited grains. So it's almost zero fat, but it's unlimited grains. And I have to be honest, that doesn't work for women. You just can't do it that way. We are, by nature, we have a higher fat percentage than men, and our metabolism is different. And so, and grains can be a trigger for a lot of us. So especially if you come into this with any kind of gut flora imbalance, and you're going to be craving anything sugary, carby, all of that stuff. So we have a balance there of how you can have these things in your diet without going off the rails. How the other thing is, like we talked about, now you guys have both been through holidays and events and things like that, doing this. And so the prepare is the second phase, where we really learn how to, just what I said, the ratio of, fruits and vegetables to proteins to, grains to fats, so that you know how to eat, how to balance a meal. Because we actually, I really feel like most people have actually said to me, they're learning how to eat again, because it is totally different. When we grew up meat and potatoes, you figure out what you're having for your meat and you base your meal around it. And then as time went on in our lives, we were told more meat, less of everything else. So it's so confusing. So phase 2 is the prepare phase, where we really learn how to put a meal together. But then after that, you got to live your life. Phase 2 is 3 weeks. And then you go into the forever phase, which is about, still being able to indulge on holidays and, have your vacations and things like that. And I use that 80-20 rule, which is 80% you stay, clean eating in phase 2, and then 20% indulging. So how do you guys feel like that's worked out for you in terms of being able to still enjoy the holidays and not feel like you're deprived? How it's played out in terms of your snacking and sweets and things like that? What does that look like for you?
I think just learning how to build a plate has set my brain on a different, path than how I used to be. Learning how my plate is supposed to look, and then eating that amount of food in each category. I don't ever feel like I'm out of control when I go into a social situation. Like, if you would go to a holiday and there's all the great, fattening things with all the butter, it's so tempting when you're out of control. But if you make your plate the way it's supposed to look, and you feel actually what full is compared to what that toxicity or that toxic hunger or whatever the cravings were, I think that's a big change. And that's what you learn in the phase 2, is how to actually listen to your body and how to recognize what hunger feels like. And I think for me, the phase 2 is where I like to kind of stay, because phase 2 feels good. Like when I eat that way, I actually feel good. And I had so many digestive issues before coming into this. So I feel like, when I eat the right way, and I know what that feels like, I don't want to indulge in those extra things, And so it's all the mindset stuff goes along with it. And when you actually start to not feel sick anymore, that's a big motivator.
That is, it's its own motivator to really, when you feel good. That's what I tell people all the time. Now, you guys have each lost, LT, you've lost 70 about-ish. And Joanne, yours is around 50. Is that right? Okay.
50.
So obviously, we all like looking good, right? That's a fact. But I can talk myself out of looking good any day of the week. Like I can really, that's right. Like I can just be like, I don't care what my husband thinks. I'm going to eat, like I don't care. What actually keeps me going is the fact that I feel so good. I don't ever want to feel like I felt before.
No.
Oh gosh, no. And it's not even, it's another layer of feeling good too. It's a vibrancy.
Yes.
It even tops feeling good. It just is an excitement. It's kind of like a take charge. It's kind of like I can do anything. It translates beyond the nutrition. It seeps into your real life, and you take more chances and you take more challenges, and you just feel like I'm really unstoppable. I really can do this. Yeah. And I will say, and you've said it before, eating this way is such a wide variety. More so than I ever ate before. I have tried more things that I have never even thought about. And I think that we as plant-based people do. I think that we do have a wider variety of things. I'm 50 years old, and the first time in my adult life that I can ever remember, I lost weight here on Halloween. We've been through Halloween. I lost weight the week of Thanksgiving, and I lost weight the week of Christmas. Now, listen, that has never happened before. When my kids, they're too old to trick or treat now, but when they used to trick or treat, I was the first one rifling through their bag. My daughter's birthday is always around Thanksgiving. I was the first one eating the first big piece of cake. Christmas, forget Christmas. I was just eating everything. But listen, you have put out so many recipes and little tips and little things to try. And that's what's made me not deprived, because I've eaten those little specialty things that you've put out that are vegan and plant-free and whole food, plant-based, You
still had cookies on the holiday.
I sure did. And I loved them.
Yeah. So that's the thing is nobody is, if you base your weight loss on a model of deprivation, which is what every plan out there is based on, it's not going to stick. It's just not.
No,
It's
because
just,
I had lost 40 pounds before I came to you by deprivation, blood, sweat, and tears. And then COVID happened. And you know, when the world shut down, let's think back to middle March. Okay, I gained 20 pounds 2 seconds. You know why? Because everything shut down and I started eating because I was deprived and I was tired of being deprived. Listen, that is no way to live as feast or famine. It is just, this is a balance. This is a delicious balance, is the only way I can describe it.
right. So, and that's the key. Like you said, Joanne, is you're staying in, you're eating, in phase 2, which is, just clean eating 80% of the time because it feels good. You feel
and
good.
I am too.
You
I
like,
stay
right.
in phase 2 too because I enjoy being here.
It's just, you like the food and you
I do.
feel good. So there's no reason not to do it. And then when times come around when you're going to indulge, you guys have seen what I eat. I post what I eat all the time. And, we're not afraid to indulge around here. But we're just not. But I mean, I live with a chef. He's definitely not afraid to indulge. Good Lord. People think it's easier because I have a chef living with me. No, it is not. So if he is cooking, it's something crazy. But yeah, I ate cookies over the holiday. I had John brought home, I told you guys, the just awful mess of sweets and crazy stuff he brought home. He did a fruit cake. He did what did I call that thing that he brought home it was made with peaches?
The Kugel or something?
Coogan. It was a Coogan.
Coogan?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's bringing stuff home left and right, but I'm just saying but I stick to, I'm like, I stick to my guns on the 80% eating clean and I feel good. And that's so that's the thing is you can still indulge. I also had, not a lot because I don't think it, obviously drinking a lot of alcohol is not good for you, but we had a few drinks over the holiday. We had a glass of wine or a sip of champagne and stuff. So it's where you're living like a normal person.
You are. And I will say this, the crux of the program and the cornerstone is all this mindset work that we do. And so that way you're prepared when little things come at you from the side that you're didn't quite think was going to happen. For instance, me, I've said it before, but in case some people didn't hear, I had a beautiful Christmas meal planned with my vegan, my whole food plant-based, and had all kinds of good stuff. And I told my husband, you might want to, if you want to bring home a side or something that goes in addition to this. And his idea of a side was a honey baked ham and a turkey and a loaded potato casserole with cheese on it and macaroni and cheese and a green bean casserole and a 3-layer red velvet cake. And I'm like, when did this become a side? And but because I had done the mindset work, none of that appealed to me. But I could see, whereas if I were not strong and ready for, I could have given in to some of that. But I was, because of this group and because of working on myself, I really just looked at it and didn't bat an eye. Really didn't.
So that's really, I tell you guys all the time that I named my company InnerStrength because what I realized was, hey, I've come up with the perfect plan here. It is so healing to your body. I know you guys have experienced, I just want to touch on this for a second too, a huge difference in things like inflammation. Joanne, you mentioned, digestive issues being resolved. What, before I get onto the mindset stuff, what kind of physical changes, not only have you seen in yourself, but in some of the women that you work with from being on the program?
The most thing that I hear, and then the most remarkable thing I have to say for my own self, besides the digestive stuff that I was dealing with, is the joint pain. Like the joint pain disappearing within the first week. I mean, that's just so bizarre that I had lived for so long feeling like I was 110 years old in chronic pain, unable to do things, even unable to just get in and out of the car without going, ugh, that hurt my hips, or oh, that hurt my ankle. Every morning when I would get up, it would take me, 15 or 20 minutes until my ankles stopped hurting, because just to get out of bed and step on the floor hurt, and the bottom of my feet. I had so much inflammation in my plantar fascia ligament that it had torn prior to me joining the program because of inflammation. I don't even have a problem anymore with any of that. And that's what I hear almost all the women say is, wow, yeah, my joint pain is gone.
You started running.
Can you believe that? Like, I wish you would have known me before, because I wouldn't have ran unless something was chasing
Girl, me. I knew you before because I was you before. I had never run a day in my life until a few years ago. So it is crazy. Yeah. Like, you go from, like, we had to go out and buy a Tempur-Pedic mattress because I couldn't sleep on my side because the burst sacks in my hips were so inflamed. I mean, that's how
we did the whole thing. We bought the memory foam thing that was this thick because I couldn't lay on my side. I didn't know that was bursitis. Is that what that was? But it was excruciating. I mean, like, I could not sleep. I could not get in a position where I wasn't in pain. And now, like, I don't even know what pain feels like now, honestly. And that's what a lot of the women in my group say. Like, I can't believe my joint pain is gone. Or if they kind of fall off and go back to eating some of the crap on the weekends, they're like, well, that was stupid because now my ankles hurt, or now my wrists hurt, or now. So, I mean, it's the inflammation is a real thing, and it's a real chronic health problem.
Right. Yeah. How about you, LT? What kind of health issues were you having?
Well, these night sweats from menopause were absolutely ridiculous. Right? And I haven't had that since just within a few weeks after starting. And I mean, I'm not talking about a little bit of sweat. I'm talking about drenching the bed, having sweat roll down your legs in streams, sleeping on a towel. That's gone. That chronic rash that I had under my arm for over 10 years that 3 different specialized dermatologists looked at, is gone. And I tried everything. That doesn't even count what I had personally bought over the counter. I mean, I had all their prescription stuff and shots and punch biopsy and all of that. The energy, I hear that a lot, that I just feel more excited about getting up and doing things. I have more endurance to do things. Just the outlook of the day. I would say the whole disposition of a lot of the women, including myself, has changed to one of more hopeful. One of more, this is, life is precious, and there's a lot of great things going around us. I mean, there's some bad stuff too, but there's a lot of good. Yeah. And I think that we're finding and noticing the good more because we're feeling good. We're not beating ourselves up as much as we used to anymore. And we're real big on self-care and encouragement and positivity. And when you are in tune with that, it's really all around you. You just have to open your eyes to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're feeling better physically, and I talked about this for those of you who are interested, and if you just mention this in the comments, if you want to be tagged in a video that I did on state of being, which talks about how your physiology is the foundation for how you feel emotionally and the thoughts that you have and the decisions that you make. So when you are feeling better physically, it is a game changer in terms of how you think. And so it's definitely an empowerment issue when you you feel like you got your mojo back and you're starting to look better and all of that. But there's something about, when you have gut inflammation, your serotonin production is inhibited. And so, the change in depression and anxiety that we hear, I experienced it, both of you guys experienced it, that we hear from the women that we work with, that's profound.
Very much so. That's a huge one because that touches every decision you make, how you handle stress, how you handle anxiety, because we're all going to have it. It is not going to escape us by any means, but how we deal with it is profoundly different. And I have noticed that with myself, and it just makes for a calmer, happier household. I feel like my patience is a lot more than it used to be. I had a short fuse before. It did not take much. I read into things too much. I probably assumed the worst on things that really didn't even need to be, but I was so skewed in my thinking.
Yeah, and being part of a supportive group is just such a huge part of that. But So before we move on to that, so I just also want to say for those of you guys out there, there's other physical symptoms like the cholesterol that comes into your body. All mammals make cholesterol. So when you're making your own cholesterol. So when you consume any kind of animal products, you're taking in their cholesterol as well. There's no cholesterol in any type of plant. So my cholesterol, for instance, dropped from 285 to 142 with no meds. And that's something that I see all the time with the plan is that, and also being able to get off blood pressure medication, which I know, Joanne, you were able to do that, right? You were on a beta blocker.
I was on a beta blocker for migraines. It did lower my, I mean, that's generally what they give for blood pressure.
Right.
So it did lower my blood pressure, but my blood pressure is actually, since I stopped it, my blood pressure is lower than what it was on the medication.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
And I was 2 seconds away from being put on cholesterol medication and blood pressure medication from my doctor. And I said, let me try this because I'm about to start something and I am within normal ranges now. So I never had to take it. And I would have, I was this close to needing it had I not done whole food plant-based.
We've also had several women just in the past few months who've been able to get off at least one of their diabetes meds. So these are things that are huge life differences. These are huge differences in your quality of life and in your health. So we talk about the weight loss and, you know, that's a feature, a huge feature and something we all love. We all want to get the weight off. But I know we're all past that age where we want to be skinny. We want to be healthy. We want to be authentically healthy and be doing this the right way. And that's the other thing that happens is, like you said, you know, Joe or LT, about being vibrant. You know, the reason why I call this plant-based weight loss and vibrant health is because this isn't just about weight loss. It's about actually getting authentically healthy, feeling energetic, and, you know, a feeling, you know, I feel better now at 51 than I did when I was 31.
I do too.
Yeah. And
I didn't know you could feel this way. I didn't even know this was, I mean, I knew I was sickly for most of my life from all the crap food, and I have a lot of food sensitivities. So I know that I have been sickly for a long time, but I didn't know that you could actually feel this good. I thought maybe I could get rid of feeling sick, but I didn't know I could actually feel good because I didn't ever know what this felt like. And this, I always say, I wish we could give out free samples of how this feels.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you knew what this felt like, I mean, I had no idea. I really had no idea this was even an option.
It's a lightness in spirit, and it's just a very lightheartedness that goes along with it. And I'm telling you that it's really indescribable until you can experience it, because I understand that some of you have weight to lose and that's all you can see is the weight. And we're on the other side of it. And we're telling you that weight loss is just one of the benefits. Just one.
And Nancy, who is also in our program, says, I feel better at 55 than I did at 30. So and this is common. I mean, we hear this all the time. Both physically and mentally in the group, it's very much 50 is the new 30 attitude in there. No matter what age you are, we have all different ages in there, but
that's right.
So, but yeah, let's talk about how the personal coaching, you know, because I do want to get to the mindset work, but a big part of what's very different about the PlantPower Revolution is our coaching. The way that we have coached the women in our group is not what you're getting when you have a coach in any other program. This is totally different. I wanted to read just a couple. In the past 24 hours, there was a couple of comments. One was under the, I did the 4 different types of, you know, personality tendencies that can derail you. And someone from our group commented on that and says the things that took place on Wednesday. So for those of you in the United States, you know that this has been a tumultuous week. She said the things that took place on Wednesday could have again derailed us. Knowing so much is in turmoil can be unsettling. Instead, I leaned in. I reached out to Joanne and just spent some time chatting. So my non-scale victory this week is more about leaning in, keeping my heart clear, letting go of things I have no control of, and not allowing myself to run to others with anger, frustration, or negativity. And so, you know, and then the one I had is said, I used to be a mix of an isolator and a pleaser before this program. Thanks to coaching calls and coach chats with my coach, my mindset is different this time. I can now recognize when I'm making excuses and nip it in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were about each of you. And that's the thing is this isn't when I say I want people out there who are watching on Facebook to know that when I say you have a personal coach, I'm not talking just about somebody you can talk to about what you're having for dinner this week.
No.
This is about life. And our women are not only leaning into the group, and certainly can contact me, and I'm doing mindset work with them, which I will talk about in a second, but they're leaning on you for things that, because the reason that we gain weight isn't just about the food. It's not just like, because, oh, I like pizza. That's not it. It's about coping mechanisms and how if we don't have that support, it's all too easy to go back to those coping mechanisms and gain the weight back, which we've all done. So I'm hoping that that the two of you could just say a little bit about the relationship that you have with the women that you work with and how you feel it's different from things that you've experienced in the past or that you think they've experienced in the past.
Yeah, I would say
I just think, anything that I've done. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, LT.
Well,
okay.
I was going to say that.
So some of the things I've done. I love
yeah, Joe. Okay, Joanne, you go. Yes, go. It's all right. It's all right. You
okay.
Go.
So like some of the things, that people have done in the past or that I've done, like you do like a check-in once a week, and it might not even be the same person week to week that you check in with and see how you're doing. It might be whoever's working part-time, at the desk at that point, and you don't ever get to know them. But these ladies, I get texts at 6 a.m. going, hey, this is what I'm eating for breakfast, or hey, look this is a picture of my pigs, or hey, this is I will text people on the weekends and say, hey, are you eating pasta again? Because I feel like you might be eating pasta right now. I just have a relationship with them where I kind of know what their patterns are and I can keep checking on them. And, now actually I'm leaning in on them a little bit because I've joined one of the smaller, sort of subgroups that we've started just since the new year of an accountability group for working out, because I'm my own worst enemy about working out when it's cold outside. So I joined a little small group of 3 other women, and they're on me now. They're texting me like, hey, all 3 of us have done our workout. Where's yours? So, it's a back and forth thing where we keep each other accountable, and, we understand each other's patterns and, can keep an eye on those kind of things. And it's not just about the food. It's about the mental patterns that we fall into. Or if somebody's telling me, hey, I was doing great all week, but then this happened and this happened. I'm like, you're self-sabotaging. Stop it. None of those excuses are valid. You are self-sabotaging and you know better. So just stop it. It's that kind of a relationship more so than let me just check off the list of what you did right and what you did wrong.
Right. What do you want to add to that, LT?
I would say that that's exactly right. It's not even really about, most of the time, it's not even really about what they're eating with me. It's kind of like what's going on or the temperature in the house, with the relationships, because I've been able to talk through some things with some people about, husband issues or parent issues or teenager issues. And, that's why I would say that this is such a mission for me, because I've had 30 years where I did a lot of things that was a mess, and I'm turning it into a message. And I just feel like I've gained a lot of wisdom and experience on how to deal things. And I feel like that I was cloudy on a lot of things for so long. And I feel like I'm very, very crystal clear on a lot of things now, because I'm just seeing things in a whole new light, because my whole physiology is different, my whole alignment, my system's in alignment, I'm in balance, and I can just see things. And, you know, just that little encouraging word and somebody knowing that you've been there, done that, and this is what helped for me. And it's also, it's turning it around into being the coach part of, you know, let's not go back to a bag of chips over this. You know, let's not stick our hand in a thing of cookies and go to a drive-through. You know, this is what we're doing. This is what we started. This is how we cope. And then just sometimes they just need to be walked through something to save them from themselves, you know, because it's new to a lot of people. And that's why we're here, for that reassurance. And we kind of do a lot of hand holding in the beginning. And I'm telling you, there's nothing better when you can watch the little bird fly away. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling. And I know you get to see that a lot. Lori, and it is great to see somebody come into their own.
I remember, I think this week you commented because people were talking about something about their vegetables, and you were like, look at my women, how great they're doing, because they were talking amongst themselves and you weren't even involved in it.
Yeah.
And
they were, and I was so thrilled, you know, because it's kind of like they're taking ownership of themselves. They're encouraging one another.
Right.
With no prompting. I mean, it's just, that's the way that it is. Yeah.
And the reason that we do it that way, so again, when I first started this, it was one-on-one just with me. Then I went to the group because I found that people really loved having this group support, you know, and motivation and things that we do together. Like we're doing our next 5K will be in March. And we do book club, and we do, you know, so we have all these things going on. But then I also noticed that there are people who are actually more like me. I'm actually, at heart, I'm an introvert. And so I would rather talk things out with somebody one-on-one. And so that's when I, you know, brought coaches on board, because that way, no matter what type of person you are, whether you're group motivated or you're more of a, you know, one-on-one type of person, you know, you can have amazing success because we have all of the different tools to keep you going. So, so the mindset coaching, though, what I offer with that is completely different. And some of the people who are watching have been through the Mindset Marathon. And basically what I help women with is boundaries. We are, if you've looked at my 6 super truths, you know that most women don't have boundaries, and that's by design in our society. We're taught that in order to be a good woman, you're sacrificing, you're putting other people's needs first before your own, and that, you know, you're seen as you know, difficult or selfish if you're doing things for yourself. And so there's a lot of mixed messaging going on, because then you're also, if you don't, you know, but if you're not fit and healthy and then you are also looked down upon. So it's like, how do you achieve all of that? You know, it's so frustrating for so many of us. So the mindset coaching is designed to help you set boundaries in your life so that you can, you know, good fences make good neighbors. And so when you're setting boundaries with the people around you, and you're claiming your own space, that allows you to fill your own cup. And what I always talk about is how, if you're not filling your cup, when you go to bed at night and you wake up the next morning, you don't wake up with a magically full cup. It is constantly going down and down and down until you are at the point when you're always trying to pour from an empty cup. And that's when people come to me, is they are basically, they don't have anything else to give. And they're just, you know, the women that I and you guys both know this. I mean, LT, you were in tears the first time I talked to you. Joanne, I know you have said many times about how things were going with you in terms of your, you know, mental and emotional state before you started. So if you guys could talk about that and how the mindset work not only, let's start with how it worked with you, and then we'll move on to how it's worked with your clients. But so if you could talk first about how you came into the program and then what the mindset work has done for you.
Well, I came into the program a hot mess of panic attacks because I was so overwhelmed. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. And I mean, I think like you're right. The society tells us that our happiness is gauged by how we can help other people. And not that we don't want to help other people, but we put ourselves in the ground helping other people, and you'll never feel fulfillment in yourself because other people, you can't drag them along and go out of your way to do all these things for them all day long from the time you get up to the time you go to bed and expect to feel fulfilled from that. It's just a lie. And I've been doing that for a long, long time when I found you. And I didn't understand the concept of prioritizing myself and how that would have an effect on how I could care for other people. Like it was a backwards way of thinking to me. Like, well, if I prioritize myself, I'm selfish. Right. And that means I'm taking time away from somebody else. But when you start to prioritize yourself by learning how to set boundaries and learning how to set boundaries with other people and yourself, and you actually take the time to work on yourself, you end up having so much more to give. And the quality of what you're giving, it's quality over quantity. I could have given 16 hours a day, but I was giving it from a half empty cup. And so that's exhausting when you're in that state.
And you have 2 girls at home. And that's the other thing we talk about is we're setting the example when we're constantly pouring from an empty cup that this is what you're supposed to do. And so how do you feel, how is that impacting them, seeing you behaving differently?
Well, I didn't realize how it was impacting them seeing me the other way, because this has all just been, this has been the last year and a half where I've been setting these new boundaries and being putting myself as a priority. Because we're in that stage now where we're starting to talk about college, and because I have twins, they're sophomores. So we were having this late night discussion that always turns into like a 3-hour thing. And we were talking about college and what the next step of our lives looks like. And I was saying, I always wanted to do this, or I always wanted to do that. This would be fun. And they both said, you've put your life on hold all these years. Why? Why have you done that? Like, they were seriously, because these kids coming up right now, they have a totally different mindset than we had growing up. Like, they're just fed different, I think they're more empowered than we were. And so I feel like they're looking at me now as teenagers going, why did you do that all those years? And not that I said, I don't ever want you to think I regret raising you and staying home. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I would never say that. But I was so glad to see that now that I've flipped that around and that I am doing this, that they can also be empowered by that and say, okay, well, yeah, we do put ourselves first. If we want a family, if we want a husband, if we want a spouse, if we, want a career, but our mental health and our physical health should come first always, no matter what. So I think that they're seeing that now. But they also did see what I had been doing that I wasn't even seeing myself. They were seeing it and I wasn't. So, I mean, that was kind of a wake up.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, LT?
I was so desperate for a change when I found you. I just had been, the mayor of Yo-Yoville for a long time, as I like to say, and it wasn't a happy place in Yo-Yoville. And I just needed a desperate change. I had mainly been working out with personal training, and that's how I had lost that 40 pounds doing the deprivation. And then it was so disheartening to gain it so quickly. In 2 seconds, really, it's what it felt like. And I'm sitting around sore. in lots of areas. I mean, I just was always sore, which made me irritable and made me mad. And I'm not saying that you don't have to quit a personal trainer and the personal trainer is not great. I'm saying that it's not necessary. You don't have to do that. I have left that personal training and I am just now doing things on my own. And I love doing things on my own. And I've lost more weight on this than I ever even dreamed about with something else, because your nutrition is what's going to lose the weight for you.
Right.
So I just really feel like that the mindset work helped me in so many areas to give myself a voice to what I was really feeling, because I had done so many different programs and I had felt so many different ways. And it just resonated with me. This is the right way. This is the way we were meant to eat. You know, if it's a plant, you can eat it. If it's made in a plant, you really need to limit what you eat. I mean, it just felt good. It felt right. It felt wholesome. I felt better right away. It just was such a welcome change. And I adopted it so quickly that because I had, been to therapy and worked on myself a lot in the past, that I was so ready for you. Yeah. Even though I was a little scared, I was so ready for you that's why I jumped in with both feet. And I just have had the most authentic results of any program that I've ever been. And I can just say with certainty that I'm never going back. Right. There's too much going for me now. And it's just, I can't even imagine feeling for even an hour or two the way I used to. You know how I used to, my favorite part of the day was when it was over. Yeah. I love getting up in the morning. I'm excited about what the day holds. I'm excited about what the future holds. As us being parents of, we're about to be empty nesters. That is exciting to me. There's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. I know it. It is exciting.
I think that there are two things I want to say. I still don't like getting up in the morning. I'd rather stay in bed. But
I don't either.
Just for those of you out there who are like, that's not me, that's okay. We're all different.
That's right.
But what I would say, you don't have to, what I tell people is you don't have to come into this believing in yourself. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is believe that if this is available for other people, it's available for you. That's really the only thing. And because your mindset will start to change right away once you get in. Once you once you do phase 1 and you get all of those cravings and that crap out of your mind and off your plate, things start to change. Because I do, I talk to people who are like, well, I got to get my mind right first. No, you don't. No. And in fact, you really can't. You really can't get your mind right first. You have to start, it starts with your nutrition. And then we start working once you get those cravings, because when you're dealing with that stuff, you can't think straight.
That's it.
And you don't feel well. No, you can't. On top of everything else, you're exhausted. I remember feeling like I had about 3 good hours a day.
Yeah,
and
I did too.
So it's really hard to, there's no way I could have gotten my mind right. The only thing that I decided was, if this is available to other people, there's no logical reason why it can't be available to me. That's it. That's all I did. And then I just sat my eyes forward. And that's what we teach the women in the group to do, is to look at what you want, not at what you don't want. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. And that's what I know the two of you are doing too with the women that you work with. It's like, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's, deal with the problem at hand, but let's go back to, what do you want? Who do you want to show up as? Who, why are you in this? And then, let's lock arms and do it together. And so that's the thing I think that is, so special about our group, is it's zero competition, zero judgment. It's all because you have women daily coming in and saying, I feel like a badass rock star. Yeah. And the women saying, I'm struggling. And here's what I've been dealing with. And then in either way, you will have 20 women commenting going like, I hear you, I'm here for you, whether they're saying something like I'm on top of the world or I'm really struggling right now. And so it's a place to be real. You don't have to pretend. And that is that's real life. So the last thing is, what kinds of foods are people eating and how do they incorporate that with family members? And I know some of you guys were in our vision boarding group, which was super fun. And you got to see, Joanne talked about this, about incorporating this with your family. And we have a guide called 5 Steps to a Plant-Based Family, which helps you if your family is eating differently. I did this when I started this. I had a toddler and 2 teenagers at home and a husband who had no interest at all in plant-based eating. So I did it. Both of you have been in that position where, I mean, neither one of you, started this with family members on board. And in fact, I think Joanne, in your case, they were actively against it. So,
yeah.
So it's totally possible, and it doesn't mean that you're cooking. Some people do 2 separate meals. They feel that's easier for them, but most women, what we're teaching them how to do is make components so that you have some things that everybody can eat, and then some things just you're eating, so that there's components. So you're not just making separate meals all the time. It's just, it's so much easier than you think, and we've all been through it. I've been teaching women to do this now for 15 years, and it's totally, totally doable. And I will tell you guys that most of the time, the other people in the family end up getting on board, at least to some degree, because the food is good. And really, for most people, if the food is good and it fills them up, that's really all they care about. So that is, I want to reassure anyone who's out there that doesn't have to be a thing. Like the other thing that we're doing that I'm super excited about, this is free to anyone who is in my program, is we have come up with sample meal days and also 5 batch cooking plans. Joanne is the batch cooking queen, and I'm more the fly by the seat of your pants queen. So we're putting these plans together that the women in our group can use as well, to either follow, the plan the way that I always just, I keep a running list on my, I teach women how to stock their kitchen. And so I keep a running list on my fridge, and I am a fly by the seat of my pants type of girl. Whereas LT does a combination of that, and she does meal delivery service with healthy meals. And then Joanne is the batch cooking queen. So the cool thing is we have people in the group that are doing this all different ways and still succeeding and still losing weight. So is there anything that you guys want to say about that?
I want to say that that's part of what I really appreciate and really like about the group, is that when I came on, I was used to just making big meals, but before we started the fast food train, but how to make them in a healthy way, and learning that kind of the tips and the tricks and seeing other people do it, and it worked in their family and it worked in real life, not just something I would find on Pinterest, or not just something I would be like, okay, well, I don't even know if this tastes good because it's just a recipe I found online. But like the people in our group, we share stuff all the time. Or if somebody, I think it was midnight last night, I found something on our Facebook group where somebody's like, oh, I want a bean salad recipe, and somebody tagged me and they're like, oh, well, Joanne's got a bean salad recipe. So I think that's the magic of our group, is like that we can learn from each other, with the food and with the recipes, but also with what we were talking about with the prioritizing yourself. When you are living in the world where everything coming at you is saying we shouldn't prioritize ourselves, and you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram or you're on all these things that are giving you these bad images of what women should be, and then you're in our group and you see other women actually prioritizing themselves, that's huge. When I didn't realize I could, and I would see other women doing it, I'm like, oh my God, she is doing it. she's doing it with a house full of kids, or she is doing it with a full-time job, or
and
she's
things going
doing
better
it.
because they're doing it. Like,
And
not just
yes,
they're doing it, there's no consequences. Like, actually life is working better.
yes.
Yeah.
So seeing real life examples of women doing what we want to be doing, but we don't know how, I think that's a big deal.
Absolutely. And we have 183 women in the group right now. And not just from the United States, but we have women in Canada, in the UK, and in India. So it's a really cool mix of people who are all on the same path in little bit different way, doing it their own way, but all on the same path.
And I would say, you know how when you cook before I was eating this, you got kind of into a rut where you fixed similar things. Well, you know, it's not like you have to try something new every single night. You know, we also get in a pattern of things that we like. If you get 4 or 5 good things, you can rotate them out and add and take away and that kind of thing. You can have a little core group. It's not like you've got to have fresh, new ingredients every single night. You know, we're in a pattern too.
Yeah, we have, I have something that's really popular in the group called the Spheres Plan that helps you decide what your core of eating is on a daily basis, a weekly basis, things that you might just have a couple times a month, things you just have on holidays, and then your list of things that you don't have. So that really helps too. It's a visual that people can create that has been super popular.
I love the Spheres Plan. Every time I get a chance, I tell somebody about that.
Yeah, it's a great visual. And yeah, so that's the thing about the group is we just have all these different tools, and it's lifetime membership. Brooke says, I love the Spheres. Yeah, so that's been like a hugely popular thing that I did, you know, years ago, that I had no idea it was going to blow up the way that it did. I was just at home one day, like, you know, it would help, you know, but that it just stems from listening to women for all the years that I've been doing this, and just becoming an expert at forming tools that people need to succeed. And our group is lifetime membership. So once you're in the program, you're always in for life with nothing more to pay. And you always have the support, and you always have those tools. So I think that the only other thing, somebody asked me, and when we said, are there any questions out there? Somebody said, do I need to take collagen? And you don't, because your body produces collagen, and the thing that makes your body produce collagen is plants. We don't get, so when you take collagen from an animal source, your body doesn't just like go, oh, this is collagen, let me inject that into your face. It breaks it down for parts, just like everything else that comes into your body. So I can say confidently, and you guys can tell from my pictures, that I look much younger now than I did 15 years ago. And that's just because I'm putting the right building blocks into my body. Plant-based eating is so good for your skin. And, you know, it's just, you just don't, you know, it is not just me. Like a lot of people say, like, you know, that they look younger, that people will actually say to them,
they're
like,
aging in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a common thing that people say about plant-based eating. So I just,
and there's a brightness in your
our
eyes.
group.
Gosh, there's so many different things. I mean, it's just an alive looking feeling when you go back and look at pictures, and you know, it's just a genuine, authentic smile. Whereas before, it was kind of a little sad smile, just had to do it. I would look back at mine and it's like, ugh, pitiful puppy over here. But you know, when I'm smiling now, I'm smiling from the inside out. You just can tell it.
I know the thing that I loved that you did this year is you're back in your family photos for Christmas, and you said you had been out of those for so long. So many
just made it the kids, and then I put myself back in, and I loved it, and it was fun for me, and that's going to be a precious memory that I have. That's why when people talk about 2020, good, get it behind us. You know, 2020 was the year I found myself. I'm always going to have a fondness for 2020.
Yeah, that's, you know, to be real, and I posted about this the other day, there's parts of this journey that aren't easy. When you're really examining habits that you have ingrained in yourself over many, 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 many years, that there's times when that's not fun, but that's why we're here to support you so that you can make this a permanent change. You don't have to live like that.
No.
You know, you can be happy, you can be healthy, and you can do it without depriving yourself. And you can do it in a way where you're actually showing up as the person you always wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so that's how my program is different. You know, don't buy the brown sludge that's on.
Oh.
I was like, what is this? They're like, it tastes great. I'm like, does it really? I don't know. So, but we encourage you guys to join us. And if you are interested, I will drop the link to book a call with me. You can also PM me, of course. If you'd like to talk to Joanne or LT, feel free to PM them as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. We love having discussions with you. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to still continue to comment. And we always come back and look at those and respond. So we will see you next week for episode 13 of the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
See ya. Bye.